Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in right now. Shouts out to you. I apologize. I haven't made a podcast in the last couple of days. I've been dealing with a little bit of a cold, man. I'm still dealing with it as of today, man. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the Saints Week 9 Monday Night Football matchup versus the Baltimore Ravens. The New Orleans Saints, just like last week, continue to control their own destiny. They got a little bit of help on yesterday from the Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers. The Atlanta Falcons, they're the Atlanta Falcons, right? I mean, you got Austin Eckler fumbling as the Los Angeles Chargers were actually getting into field goal range, picked up by an Atlanta Falcons defender, only for it to fumble when nobody actually touched them. All right. And it gave the ball back to the Chargers to set up a game-winning field goal. So they're no longer in first place. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, after late game heroics by Tom Brady, who went over 100,000 yards. So, I can't talk about the Carolina Panthers, but what's the point at this time? It's pretty clear that they're tanking. They got completely mud-walked by the Cincinnati Bengals. But the New Orleans Saints, once again, controlled their own destiny. I know some people were upset at the Rams and saying stuff like, oh, man, the Rams never help us out. They didn't help us out in Week 18 when we needed them to knock off the San Francisco 49ers. Look, we don't need to be looking at other teams to do what the New Orleans Saints should do. The New Orleans Saints control their own destiny, which means they got to continue to win games. The same momentum that they had last week when they shut out the Las Vegas Raiders, they need to bring that into the game versus the Baltimore Ravens. And, you know, the Baltimore Ravens are a tough matchup for the New Orleans Saints. Historically, the New Orleans Saints do not do well when it comes to run-pass option. And in comes the run-pass option king, who is Lamar Jackson. There's run-pass option, and then there's Lamar Jackson. This dude is a running back playing quarterback. Even though he has great quarterback skills, I mean, he's so elusive and so talented, man. This is a scary matchup, and I'm pretty sure the Saints defenders stayed up a little bit late trying to find ways to neutralize him. The Baltimore Ravens will be without star tight end Mark Andrews and running back Gus Edwards. Neither one of those guys practiced throughout the week, so more than likely they won't be able to play in this game. But I know that probably sounds, like, whew, man, we ain't got to go up against Mark Andrews, and we ain't got to go up against Gus Edwards, but slow your roll. Because there's a tight end on this team of the Baltimore Ravens by the name of Isaiah Likely, the rookie out of Coastal Carolina, had a really good game last week. I want to say, if I look at his stats here, he has 6 catches for 77 yards and a touchdown. And he's been doing this throughout the entire preseason, and now is going into the regular season. Isaiah Likely is a star, okay? And then you also have Kenyon Drake, who's a great running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. And not to mention that they just added Roquan Smith via trade from the Chicago Bears to their team. So the New Orleans Saints have a tall task. I mean, really tall task. You got an RPO quarterback playing not on grass, but actual turf. So he's going to be even faster. They are going to have to find ways to neutralize Lamar Jackson. And that goes, that's the duty of the linebackers, the duty of the linebackers when you think about Pete Werner and Demario Davis. These guys are going to have to be on their P's and Q's, as well as the Saints defense, because one thing that Lamar Jackson does well is make people miss. And the Saints, for the exception of last week, they've been having issues with wrapping guys up and making the tackle, man. So if you mess around and be allowing these offensive players for the Baltimore Ravens to get past you, you can find yourself being out of a game before it even starts. So the Saints have got to be much better when it comes to the sound tackling. They got to be much better when it comes to that eye discipline when you're talking about the RPO. We need the New Orleans Saints defenders to replicate what they did last week. Peyton Turner had 2 sacks. Cam Jordan, along with Kendavius Street, they had a half of a sack. I mean, you had Davion Yamada. He stepped up. He had a sack. So the front 4 of the New Orleans Saints are going to have to be able to get pressure on Lamar Jackson, and also Davenport and Cam Jordan are going to have to control the edge. Lamar Jackson is fast, man, so he can get out to those get out to the edge really, really quickly. So it's going to be a tall task for these two guys to go up against Lamar Jackson. But if you look at the Saints offensively, they've been red hot as of late. I mean, with Andy Dalton, whether you want to agree with it or not, whether you like it or not, Andy Dalton has got the Saints offense clicking. He has 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He's able to find wide open receivers. He's able to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers like Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave and Taysom Hill. He's able to do those things. So the Saints offense has been looking really good, and hopefully they can do some things that has been successful over the last couple of weeks, and it starts with the running game. The running game of the New Orleans Saints are averaging about 126 yards per game. That's pretty doggone good, especially since a lot of the NFL knows that the Saints are looking to run the football. The Saints are going to have to continue to run the football the way that they have in weeks past. This is one of those games where you want to get the ball into the hands of Alvin Kamara. You want to get the ball into the hands of Jordan Howard. You know, more than likely is going to be playing in this game, and getting the ball into the hands of Taysom Hill to be able to run the football. And not only do that, you can set yourself up in manageable situations on third down, maybe a 3rd and 3 or a 3rd and 4, you know, manageable third downs, and continue that high third down percentage that you've been building on for the last couple of weeks. So running the football is key in this game, getting your ball into the hands of the playmakers. As far as the wide receivers have got to be able to step up. I mean, you think about some of the talented guys that they have out there in their secondary. They got Marcus Peters, they got Humphreys, they got Kyle Hamilton. They got all these different guys out there that can be able to, you know, do some things and be able to jam these guys to make it very, very difficult for them to catch passes. But when Andy Dalton throws these guys the ball, they're going to have to be able to catch it. And they're probably going to have to be able to catch some of these contested catches, man, because, I mean, these cornerbacks and safeties are in the hip pocket. I mean, the hip pocket of a lot of these receivers. So it's going to be a tough matchup for those wide receivers, but they got to be able to step up. Last year, a lot of these guys got a lot of experience, excuse me, in a lot of ways that they probably didn't think that they were going to at that particular time. So all those games that they played last year, to me, is setting them up for this particular moment. We know that Michael Thomas isn't going to be playing. You know, he's been put on IR, but Jarvis Landry more than likely is going to be coming back in this game, and he couldn't have come back at a better time, because Jarvis Landry, who is also familiar with the Baltimore Ravens, being with the Cleveland Browns for the last couple of years, being in the same division, he knows about this team, and so does Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, all his years with the Cincinnati Bengals, has went up against the Baltimore Ravens several times and has found a lot of success. And I'm saying this because Andy Dalton is going to have to win this game for the New Orleans Saints. I know this sounds crazy, but he's going to have to, because if you look at the Baltimore Ravens, they do really, really well when it comes to the screen game and when it comes to neutralizing running backs. I know Alvin Kamara had an outstanding week last week, but it's a whole different beast when you're going up against Patrick Queen and now Roquan Smith. Like, these guys can neutralize. I look at those two guys, how Devin White, and Levante David does. It's hard for any team to be able to run a screen on those guys. And I feel like it's the same way when it comes to the Ravens with Patrick Queen, who's already been doing a really good job. And now you add Roquan Smith, who can run sideline to sideline as well, and also be able to get pressure on your quarterback. So Andy Dalton is going to have to step up in this game, because I look at the Baltimore Ravens, and they had 10 days to be able to scheme for this particular moment, because they had a Thursday night game versus Tampa Bay. They had a extra time to go out there to find ways to neutralize Alvin Kamara. They are going to look at this game in this regard. If we lose, Alvin Kamara is not beating us. If we lose, Alvin Kamara is not going to be the reason we lose, okay? I can live with the fact that Andy Dalton beat me versus Alvin Kamara. So those, like I said, these wide receivers, they're going to have to step up in this game, because Alvin Kamara in a passing game, it might be a little difficult for him. Defensively, once again, the Saints have to get pressure on Lamar Jackson, let him make plays from the pocket instead of with his legs, and go from there. And also, let's see if the secondary can be a little bit opportunistic. I expect maybe PJ Williams will play in this game. He's coming back. He's more of a sound tackler, for the Saints secondary. Lante Taylor, He doesn't have to go up against Rashad Bateman. Instead, he has to go up against guys like, Devin Duvernay or DeMarcus Robinson, guys like that. But still, you got to be able to step up. And also, Paulson Adebo, as the weeks go by, I expect for, that high ankle sprain that he sustained early in the season to kind of, get a little bit better, and you'll see him a little bit faster. And I think you'll start seeing him play much better. But who do I have winning this football game? This is tough for me, but I can't go back and change this prediction that I had. I had the Saints losing against the Baltimore Ravens during the beginning of the season, and I think they're going to lose again. This is not a good matchup for the New Orleans Saints. I just look at the Baltimore Ravens and the threat that they have, against the Saints, and the Saints' lack of ability to be able to stop guys that can run that RPO. Lamar Jackson is a whole different beast. He's a whole different beast when it comes to that. I look at the Baltimore Ravens having a few extra days to be able to scheme against the New Orleans Saints. And I know some people is like, man, the Saints defense, they shut out the Las Vegas Raiders. But when you look at the Las Vegas Raiders losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday, how impressive was that win really? I mean, I look at Josh McDaniel and Dennis Allen in kind of the same light. They're both guys that I feel like are better coordinators than they are head coaches. I don't think the Saints are going to win this football game. I don't think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to blow them out. But I just think that the Baltimore Ravens, to me, they're a little bit – they pose a little bit more of a threat than the Saints are really used to. And I get it, the Saints need this win. And yes, I feel like the Saints are going to fight hard and scratch and bite and claw. But I don't think they're going to win this football game. It's fortunate that some of these other teams actually lost. But, and then maybe they can possibly get on a run. But I just think that the mere threat of the Baltimore Ravens and what they actually have, I think it might be a little bit too much for the New Orleans Saints. So I got the Baltimore Ravens knocking off the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football. And another reason why I feel this way is because of what I just said. Andy Dalton. Like, Andy Dalton has to step up. Andy Dalton is going to have to be the main reason why the Saints win this game. And the question is, can Andy Dalton exercise the demons that is primetime football that has plagued him throughout his entire career? I know we talk about Kirk Cousins in primetime, but, Andy Dalton falls into that same category. He's the same type of guy, like when the Saints actually needed him to make a play versus the Cincinnati Bengals to drive them down the field, he couldn't do it, and like I said, I'm thinking if I'm John Harbaugh, I'm like, okay, Alvin Kamara, we knows how special he is. Let's neutralize him. And if Andy Dalton beats us, I can live with that. I don't see Andy Dalton beating the Baltimore Ravens. So I have the Ravens winning this game. And unfortunately, it's going to bring the Saints record to 3-6. But not all is lost. The Saints can continue to control their own destiny by winning out and beating their NFC South opponents down the line. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about this matchup, Week 9, Saints versus Baltimore Ravens? Of course, let me go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. I hope I'm wrong. But comment down below, like and share this video. Thank you for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Till next time, all I got to say